What is up, y'all? It's your boy Aniki, and today we are back. Now, I had to take a break off last week because OBS was clowning, played around with a bunch of settings, and eventually I just had to turn it off and turn it back on. And by that, I mean uninstall it completely and then reinstall it. So we're back, but I did read last week's chapter, and it was a certified banger to come back to as far as the series goes because we kind of just immediately return to getting the Kunishige Rokuhira like special, the origins of him, so to speak. Further, diving into that. Let me go ahead and get this posted in the Discord for the sake of my people. Because the thing is that we got some real dark components of who Rokuhira is in regard to like his parentage, um, like the insane level of envy. I gotta make sure I let the boys know. Um, and then his mom going 0-1, just all around, just wild, wild origin. And then we see that the person that was kind of there for him, really, really let him, feel good was Chiaki. And you see the way she just brought a light to his life that he hadn't actually been experiencing, and that it just kind of further solidifies that why the enchanted blades are made, because when you grow up in the environment that Rokuhiro was in, or Kunishige was in, and then you find somebody like her who makes your life better, who makes you better and happier, and then you want to take away the good. I'm gonna show you that darkness that I was not dealing with. You know what I'm saying? And so, hi. And so you kind of immediately see, and I'm not saying the consequences.
I want to touch the light.
You want to touch the light?
Yeah.
Well, you can play with it a little later, okay? But right now, you got to be behaved. Just sit down. Is that okay?
No,
No,
I don't like to sit down.
you don't want to sit down. Okay, well, you can run around. No, you want to stay on daddy's lap? Getting down? Okay. You're indecisive? You don't know what you're going to do? Okay. Hey, what up, Tiger Blaster? So, yeah, that is to say, with the fireworks, which just leaning into colloquialisms, obviously, there's sparks between them. Uh, her hesitating for 2 hours, just the full package of like what they mean to each other, and like it's just so tragic. It's crazy that this flashback arc, and this is the greatest thing. Hey, what up, Blob? The craziest thing about this flashback arc for me is that we constantly are aware of where things are headed, and the journey there still is like, oh my god, you constantly have this hope for things that cannot be. And I think that's just it's a testament to how well Hokozano has been portraying these situations. And I guess you could argue it's testament to the darkness of the world that Kagurabachi actually has within it. Because it's like you're sitting here, you're just like, man, is Mashiro gonna die? Yeah, he's gonna die. You're so dizzy. Okay, we'll sit down in the bed for a little bit. Hey, what up, Cameron Bailey? If nobody got me, Cameron Bailey got me. Yeah, see, I'm a big fan of flashbacking inside of flashbacks inside of a flashback. So, like, we could go all the way back to Kunishige Rokuhiro's great grandfather, and I'd probably be that meme sitting there like, I'd allow it. Let's see where it goes. Because at the end of the day, I just like lore and information, so I'm gonna take all of it that I can get. You're dizzy again? Oh my goodness, you're such a silly girl. Don't bump your head or anything, okay? Make sure you're being careful. That's a precious daughter right there. Um, all right, but I'm gonna start this chapter, and we see they got a little lantern, paper lantern, and a candle set up. You getting dizzy again? You're so silly. Uh, and we see somebody pulling up on them with a sword. This it. All right. See, the big three trauma is real. The big three did kind of like sit on information for a really long time. And I mean, when you think about all the information we get on Ichigo, a lot of that doesn't come properly until Thousand Year Blood War. Well, I guess we do get some flashbacks for Ichigo at least early on with the Grand Fisher stuff. It's just the context of flashbacks is constantly expounded upon. So I will say that we get information on people's past, but we don't get the full context. Whereas here, we didn't spend too much time with flashbacks, and now we're getting a real meaty deep dive. And it's those real meaty deep dives that people are really looking for. At least guys like us are usually looking for those heavier dives. All right, that's a dizzy girl. You about to spin some more? Okay. Oh, don't bump your head or anything, okay? Here, how about you spin on that? You can go faster. Kubo gives you little crumbs and then he slaps you with the full context, and you're like, oh, all right. That's what we're doing today. All right, let's get into this. The man came out of nowhere, howling and waving a sword. You're dizzy again? Okay. Shiba came running and beat him senseless. He said he just happened to be in the neighborhood, but I doubted that. I think it's hilarious that we get. See, Shiba's a real wingman right there. Just chilling in the background, watching it unfold, rooting for him. The man had been screaming, "This is Yamaroku Isa's house, right? I know you're loaded. You're that bastard's son." Oh, boy. And I do think that the big three leverage flashbacks. Well, I think it's funny because One Piece, in my opinion, leverages flashbacks best when it is on side characters who are like introduced into the story or have very specific um, ties to arcs. Because with a lot of the main cast, you get it all spread out, and then eventually, like they sometimes we do so. Like there's still characters we haven't gotten a lot of flashback material for, so it's all relative. Uh, where the hell did this guy come from? What a nut job. Well, he was right about one thing. I did have money. My dad had left behind a decent amount, plenty for me to live on. Hey, Chiaki, are you okay? I think so. You're bleeding. It's just a small cut. And yes, I knew who Yamaroku Isa was. You're gonna make a great blacksmith. The only part of my dad I'd ever admired. It was his blacksmith name. Even without checking the inscription, I knew instantly it was one of my dad's katanas. Hey, hey, hey. The guy was a customer. My dad sold katana like that to all kinds of scum. Looking back, the quality was nothing special, and I was living and growing on that money. Yaki's being tough here. Someone, it's okay. I'm fine. So, so this is the hey, what up, anime all day? So this is the origin. Beanie, calm down, okay, baby? Don't randomly scream. Beanie, don't randomly scream, baby. Okay? Okay, I'm fine. Oh, and then we're cutting back to the present of the flashback. Every chemical reaction in the forge is visible in the flames by their form and color, and it's smelting part two. This blacksmith judges when to add iron, sand, or coal, and how much, and when to use the bellows. See, I like the fact that this is the origin, and we understand. This does make me question if 17-year-old Rokuhira still had some of his dad's money, though, and if he was choosing to be hungry over living off blood money, and instead just wanted to live by the money that he earned himself. Uh, Rokuhira, you okay? March 28th, 7:20 p.m. 38 hours since the start of bellowing. Yeah. Working with the Datsenseki, the slightest error in judgment would be lethal. So far, so good. That's some insane focus. But the critical part is yet to come. The furnace temperature is close to 1400 degrees. It's time to start the Kudari phase. Kudari? See, Cameron, that's how I look at it, right? Is that money is like, okay. I don't think money is money in the sense that I will not do just anything to make money, obviously, because I'm black, and if I wanted to make a lot of money, I could probably just start saying a bunch of bad things about black people online and build a following and make a lot of money. And I won't do that. But if you already got the money already there, you're not really doing anything by not spending it. So it's like a performative gesture to like suffer for while you have money, and in fact, it's kind of an insult to people who don't have it. So that's kind of how I look at it. The end game of the Tara smelting process. To grow the lump of steel, forming in the furnace, smolter adds iron ore while increasing aeration with the bellows. As greater amounts of Datsenseki are exposed to the fire, Genie, for the next few hours, the reactions within the furnace will reach their peak. Including setup, he's been at it for nearly 2 days straight without sleep. He's got to be on the brink of collapse. What he has to do doesn't change, it's just more intense. He can't afford to overlook the slightest flicker. Chiaki, my life finally gains meaning when I risk it for you. Man, I remember I saw somebody who online was like, I'm not really sold on Kunishige and Chiaki's relationship. I want there to be more yearning involved, blah, blah, blah. Well, you're getting the yearning. You're getting the active yearning here, the desire for each other. It's here, it's present. You're getting it. Thank you for the stitch. Oh, Hana. And we see a giant explosion. Now of all times, they're here. Azumi held them off longer than I expected. We should be grateful. What a disaster. If they start battling now, it'll break his concentration. That'll only increase the risk of failure. You're really on our side now, huh? I'll convince them. Clearly, he's come this far. The Sorcery Bureau will have to see. Unfortunately, they've already decided to hand over the princess. As far as the Sorcery Bureau is concerned, avoiding a disastrous accident is all that matters now. So there are two options. Pray for Rokuhiro's success, or put out the fire and end the smelting Genie, here. Now for any sane person would choose the latter. You knew we were coming, so you chose a wide open space with no obstacles, right? Clever. Unfortunately, the rain hides our presence too. Ooh. I heard they were masters of stealth, but this? They use sorcery to treat the wounds you sustained on Irishima. I've suspended the effects. Once again, you're battered and bleeding from head to toe. I'm afraid I must disable you to carry out my mission. This Rokuhira guy you're supporting, I looked into his family background. He's trash. We can't place the fate of the nation on his shoulders. These pipes are called Kiro. They feed the air into the furnace, keeping the fire alive. They're the lifeline of the Zatara. Yeah, I'm like, man, this is the classic shinobi gang. Time to begin. The Masumi, yeah, they're already on site too. Ooh. And Rokuhira, don't look away. The fire isn't going out. You know what? This when they said that his sorcery was cloning, I thought about obviously you can use it in fighting. I was like maybe you could use it for training, but the other main thing is what they visually displayed, having him use it so that he could, just take care of all the issues tied to the smelting and forging process himself. Having him have multiple clones so that he can fight the Masumi and kind of give us like a chance for him to really show off his swordsmanship before he gets an enchanted blade, though, there's a really good direction to take Subaru, because he's also going to be obviously making these clones, fighting, and helping with the forging process. So we're going for an all-around banger character performance here. He's gonna have him doing it all while Rokuhira makes the finishing touches. Okay, so the fantastical setting question, and most of these scenarios, it's not an issue of the fantasy. It's an issue of like there's a cultural pride attached to a lot of the ways these things are done, right? So one of the things that people will say, like, oh, that's the problem nowadays. Everybody resorts to guns instead of fighting with their fists. Stop trying to pull out the gun and actually fight a man if you're really that angry with them. Well, it's kind of similar to that. Obviously, the cheap and very easy explanation is the rule of cool. And for a lot of these kinds of conflicts, just pulling out the blammer isn't that cool. Not in this particular scenario. Like, so in stories with like magic systems and things like that, the blammer has to be pulled out in situations where it's actually jarring and you've been moved away from thinking about it. because of the scale of the sorcery and the combat that we've been seeing and what's going on in this adventure or like this juncture of the story, the blamer would be more like a, oh, they really just want to kill him. They don't care about. But we've seen the things with the clan where they've got their pride, and there's all this force focus on swordsmanship and how adapting that is what allows you to become the next head of the clan. So obviously, those are all people who could probably learn how to just like shoot a blamer, but instead they're focused on swordsmanship. And the same thing kind of applies to like Hiyuki's family, right? They could do like the lieutenant from Fire Force and get better with flame manipulation and all get really good at shooting people instead of developing their fire sorceries and worrying about the flame bone. But why do that when the history and the pride that they've developed and that is tied to their clan and culture is like the sorcery itself? It's the same thing with like even when you look at like Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. When Korra is trained by the White Lotus, they train her in a lot of the classic, very formal, flowy, artful forms of bending. And then she goes to Republic City and she's fighting a bunch of people who like primarily use snappy motions, have a lot of like boxing inspired techniques. So it's more about quick footwork and like high speed movement and less about the wind up and like the art and the flow. And so there's just always like that art, culture, prideful, historical side of things, legacy versus modernization. And that's part of what made Toji work in like JJK, for example. And in that like is from this prestigious clan. He's from all these things. And yes, martial arts is old, but ultimately, like the thing they pride themselves on isn't their martial arts; it's their sorcery that they use to accent those things. And so, when everybody's running around using high tier sorcery, mega destructive sorcery, summoning curses, and then he just ups a gun, it's like, oh yeah, that is all. That is still an option here. We can still do that. So that's kind of how I look about it. And like a lot of these fantasy settings, you have like an extensive like clan setup, at least within manga, right? Like within manga, we usually have multiple clans. Um, it's like let's look at Harry Potter, right? J.K. Rowling wrote that shit in the '90s into the 2000s, and she's British, so we don't have an instance where somebody goes, I bet we could have killed Voldemort with a high caliber sniper's rifle from like 500 yards away. Which, fun fact, I knew a guy when I was in my church youth group who actually did a military sniper competition, and I think he won the like 1,000-yard snipe. So yeah, he won specifically the like 3,000 feet away snipers contest. Um, so nobody was thinking, oh yeah, we could probably just snipe this guy from super far away with a high speed round that the bullet would hit him before the sound wave does. Uh, and so it's just kind of a thing that anytime there is like this, but like when you think about it, right? Let's take a gaming lens for this. Let's take a gaming lens for this, right? I like to play League of Legends. I play lots of League of Legends. I'm here. Now, one of my favorite characters, one of my main characters, is Jace. Jace is not considered like the easiest character to play. Like by any stretch, he's not really considered the easiest to play, right? However, Jace is the character that I constantly want to play because Jeannie, you're doing a lot. Because I find him to be the most fun. So he's like my highest mastery champion. Jeannie, what's up here? Okay. And so I could play a champion that has 4 abilities and doesn't have to juggle multiple passives and other things like that. But I want to play the character that does these things. And it's not that I don't. play like Syndra, who's actually just constrained to like 4 abilities and a scaling passive and blah blah blah. It's just the champion that I like the most is the one that has a bunch of extra steps to it. I could like play whatever's meta and OP and the latest thing on the patch that's been buffed. But here's the thing. Jace, I play in mid, not top. Why? Because in season 3, when I started, Jace mid was a thing. And so I got really into playing Jace mid, and he's my AD mid lane go-to option. Syndra, okay, Syndra recently got a buff, so she became like a meta pick, but she wasn't for a really long time. That didn't bother me. I just enjoy playing Syndra, so I just kept playing her. She can put the cap back on that. Why are you playing with deodorant? And so,
I want to put on my
okay. I say all this to say that when you play games or when you have like a style or anything like that that you approach, you want to do things the way you learned how to do it. You want to play the game how you want to play. You want to play your role or whatever it is. And the way that you were trained up or decided to put in the effort for. And I think that's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think that applies to like when people cook, right? Some people will never eat a medium rare steak. It's their loss. They're missing out. But that's what they like to do. And so I look at it as a very human way to write characters. Is like, if I spend, you know, every day since my childhood refining my sorcery, my go-to thought process will probably never include pulling out the gun. Which, interestingly enough, I don't think we've seen a lot of emphasis on guns. And the other part is like culturally within anime and manga, we should expect guns a little less too, because guns are just a lot less common in Japan. Like that emperor that got assassinated with a homemade shotgun instead of, a regular gun. Where it's like, oh, I guess you just can't buy firearms in. Remember, even with Genie, roll. Oh, you're 3 years old.
I'm going to that.
Okay, you get down. Okay. But yeah. So, centering back on the chapter and getting off my tangent on why no gun or assassination when I could have TLDR'd it and just said ego. I think it's good that um um I think it's good that we have. Oh wait, did I get knocked out? Oh no. Wait, did a part of the stream cut out or something I didn't notice? And we're back where it reached me. Hold on. Now I gotta look at my stream and see if like I randomly got cut off. Okay. Okay. Okay, we're good. Didn't randomly get cut off. Gave me an anxiety attack there, Cameron. Jeannie, what are you doing? Okay. Here, Daddy will give his final thoughts, then we can go play. Uh, oh. Let's see. Where? I'm trying to see where it cut out now. Oh, okay. I was just buffering on your side. Okay, okay. Okay. If it was just buffering, yeah, I can't really do anything about that. I'm like sitting here pulling up the live stream, and I got it on another monitor. And I'm like clicking through, like, oh no, where'd it cut out? Where'd it cut out? Where'd it cut out? But yeah, if it just was a latency thing, not really anything I can do about that. Okay. So yeah. All right. Now, to wrap things up though, because I got to make sure I hang out with this kid because her mom is gone. Um,
Hey.
the focus that we're seeing from Kunishige, great, good way to show what like sets him apart from other swordsmiths. Why he would be able to achieve this when other people couldn't. Uh, the little bit of Chiaki we got, we see once again that self-sacrificing resilience. Um, I also noticed she got cut on the arm. Um, I do think she's the one whose arm was like cut off next to baby Chihiro. So I think this is just us being reminded again that she's gonna lose that arm, which means she's probably gonna die a very brutal death. Um, R.I.P. Chiaki fans, and remember Mashiro didn't get off light either. So you know, suffering is what we do here in this flashback. Um, I feel like the dude with the mask is getting put in the pack because he was here for like a day or however long and didn't immediately snitch. So he's dead as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, we know Subaru is not dead because, you know, he becomes one of the enchanted blade wielders. Uh, but yeah, they're going to, but I guess also having the Masumi here is a great way for them to be proven wrong. I also think that there's a chance that we get Shiba leveling up his sorcery. Since Wicked Trick allows for things like size adjustment and all these other things, maybe he adjusts the size of his wounds to like microscopic so that they don't impact his body as much, and like, he starts to get like conceptual with it because we haven't really seen a lot of things. In theory, Ichizuru should allow him to do a lot, even adjusting his own injuries, depending on how conceptual it gets. But yeah, I'm gonna go do dad stuff and hang out with the baby. I appreciate you guys for coming through. Hopefully, my wife's around next week, so I can spend a little more time on the actual stream. Uh, but I appreciate you guys for coming through. I will be back next week. I considered actually doing some like gaming streaming, but I know that that's not like necessarily what we do on this channel. So try to find some more stuff to do with you guys throughout the weeks and whatnot. I appreciate everybody that comes through as always. You guys have a wonderful day. We will see you. I am so glad Hokusano is back. Bachi Bros, hoes, and those. Yeah, those. That's inclusive. Stay up. We out.